You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
Hi, my name is Stephen Long, and I host a show here on Rock Candy called Sacred Tension. It's about the spiritual discipline of asking questions. If you find yourself uncomfortable in your faith, or if you find yourself caught between modern science and ancient religion, or if you're curious about the journeys of others who are sorting out faith and doubt, Sacred Tension is a place where nothing is off limits. You will find conversations with pastors, cult experts, spiritual leaders, and skeptics, all discussing the ways we navigate the faiths we were given. Find Sacred Tension right here on Rock Candy and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to the Eleventylife podcast.
Unicorns and magical creatures of the nether realm, welcome to this episode of Eleventylife. I hope that your week has gone well, that you're remembering to take deep, calming, and centering breaths and absolute paint job poops. We have been soft at work this winter in the Rock Candy recording studios, putting together a whole new batch of Eleventy tunes for 2023, and we're getting really, really excited about it. As a matter of fact, we have a brand new single coming out on March 3rd. So if you are following us on Spotify, you are going to get at it first. As always, huge hugs and high fives to everybody who is ordering anything and everything from our Rock Candy Recordings online store. I think we might be a little overdue for some new t-shirt designs. I am going to make a mental note of that for myself. Why am I not asking you? Why am I not asking you what you want? Do you have a certain Eleventy design that you want to see on a tee that you've just been waiting for us to do, and we just refuse to entertain your inordinately outlandish requests for the simplest of things? Drop us a DM on Instagram or on the Eleventylife Facebook group, where all of the cool kids are hanging out and being nerds together. On this episode of Eleventylife, this is the second part of our album commentary for the debut album of mine and Scott's band, Fantasy League. We are continuing our conversation with the man snacks that are John and Andrew of their own podcast, Magnified Pod. We recorded these conversations a few weeks ago in Denver, Colorado, and we are releasing highly edited versions of them here on Eleventylife. But if you want to hear all of the behind-the-scenes weirdness and a whole lot of you can check out the unedited versions of this on their podcast, Magnified Pod. There are no two people on the planet I would rather be talking about art and creativity in the recording process with than these two guys. It is a good time, as I'm sure you already know. This episode, we are doing commentary on the back half of the album, taking hella deep dives into the lyrics, into the synthesizers and samples and all kinds of electronic madness that we used to create this debut album. And the more that I listen back to these conversations that we had a few weeks ago, the more I miss these guys dearly. I cannot even describe how much fun it was to be able to hang out with them. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who is saving our songs on Spotify, putting them on your favorite playlists, allowing us to be a part of your commute, of your laundry, of your secret dance parties that you host in the basement and you just pray to God the cops don't find out. I am raising a toast to you from the quantum realm, hoping that every good and glittery thing comes your way in this lifetime. We are playing super quick samples of the album as we have the conversation, but if you want to check out the album in its entirety, which I encourage you to do because I think it kind of slaps, be sure to check the show notes and it will take you right to it. All right, no more rambles and gambles. Let's get into the second half of album commentary for the new album from Fantasy League.
And now another different vibe. We hear a little warm acoustic guitar to set things up.
You Will Run.
My voice has been an instrument of friction again. These calluses are more than just a thicker skin. In my own eyes, I am a sculptor.
Very cool.
This was my other guess for Reese lyrics.
Nope.
Sorry. Man, I'm just fucking wrong. And I think it's probably because I assume these, like, he's talking about his voice. He's talking about, I don't know. Okay, I'm wrong. So fuck me.
Why don't you just Spider-Man kiss Reese and get it over with?
He's not on the Zoom.
I'm trying, but
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, so the repeated refrain of, I've been trying to make you strong and telling you where you belong. I've been trying to write your song instead of just singing along. Like, that's a really powerful idea of trying to dictate what someone's doing rather than join in them doing it. And I feel like that it could apply to so many relationships. I sort of read it initially as like a parenting thing, but it
definitely
could be...
is.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like...
The Fantasy League album is nothing if not a parenting manual.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, could you talk a little bit about how that came to be then, Scott?
Yeah, it's really about my relationship with my son, and it's pretty typical father-son stuff. Trying to tread that line between preparing them for life, and oftentimes, I guess, becoming guilty of trying to enforce your own dreams for them, your own expectations, and not letting them just kind of become their own person. And yeah, this is one that, kind of like Cliffs of Moher, it has a lot of meaning for me. I don't think the poetic artifice is quite there for this one. So this one, I feel like I didn't state, what I was trying to say quite as, I don't know, like artfully as I would like. So I've always been kind of disappointed in how the lyrics on this one turned out for that reason, even though it expresses something that's very, meaningful to me.
I mean, I guess you're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're the only person that feels that way.
I mean, I will say that it hit me emotionally, assuming it was about parenting for the reasons that you're talking about. So I didn't find it to be one that was like lacking a layer, although I know what you mean, where it's like, maybe there's not some metaphor to it. It's fairly like direct, but I really like the message of it. I think it is really moving. So, and the fact that it's sort of paired again with this like sort of naked acoustic guitar on display, like it stands out for that reason. Like we were saying, a lot of these songs have an acoustic guitar element to them in the background or in places, but this one sort of centers it. And I wondered, if that was something that was an intentional decision, like was it guitar led in the demo and you just wanted to keep it that way, or kind of talk about how that, like, why this isn't maybe as baked in like synths from the beginning as the other ones are maybe.
Well, I think this was the second song we worked on. And so we were still trying to figure out what that blueprint was going to be. So we'd worked on Blind, and then this one, then we kind of took this one in a little more power pop direction. And at one point I wanted to cut this song because I worried that like it was too different. And like I said, I was kind of in my head about the lyrics. And so, but I'm glad we kept it. Like now that I've had some space from it, like I do like the song, and I'm proud of it. I still love the guitar riff that's at the tail of the chorus. I think that's pretty compelling.
That's super cool, because you, in the original demo, you had a guitar, and it was like, the guitar sounded kind of crunchy, and for whatever reason, I remember in the studio I was like, let's retrack it. So you were like, we retracked the acoustic guitar, and then we were like, oh, it doesn't even sound good, it's too pretty, or it's too, and so we just ended up, I think everything on this track ended up getting pretty sizzled, like cooked pretty hard and pushed really hard. It sounds kind of dirty. The production feels kind of dirty.
I do like those really sharp cuts though, with all the like, and so just it's very punchy and sharp and crisp, and I do like that. I'm gonna do what John says hasn't been trying to do, and ask about what something means, because I'm curious what "You Will Run" means as it relates to the message of the song about trying to let your son be, his own person. What is that?
It's a bummer. It's well, first of all, the original version had a different chorus, and that was the refrain, was "You Will Run," and ended up ditching that and rewriting, with a different lyrics and melody. And I think I always intended to change the title. And
the original title was "You Will Run or Else," and I was like, Scott, that's too much. So
no, just like this fear as a parent that your mistakes will eventually alienate your kids from you and that they'll run away, you know, not like literally, you know, like a, like run.
I love everything you guys have had to say about these tracks, because this song lyrically for me feels really important. And I love the way the lyrics turned out. I feel like the music could not be what it is. We could have just like put the demo out and I would have felt as compelled by what the lyrics had to say, because there's so many different ways to look at it. Like when you hear the way that these are voiced, you know, you obviously, all of us kind of take away the parenting parallels and stuff, but even thinking about it from the standpoint of a child, like hearing a parent say that feels vindicating, feels like, oh my gosh, like maybe we did experience a lot of this like dissonance, but to know that you landed here, it almost feels like freeing or more expansive in a way. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a song that I needed to have this meaning pointed out to me, because as a non-parent now, I'm like, oh my God, it's so obvious. Yeah. And it's something I can't relate to at all, but I can only sympathize with that fear. So, you know, I do, I guess I'll conclude by saying I appreciate you're willing to be honest and put that, because I'm sure that's a common fear or concern for a lot of parents, that wanting to try and strike that balance between parenting and maintaining relationships, but not pushing away. And that seems truly impossible to try and find that balance, but pretty profound stuff.
It worked for this dad. And now a cover of the song Butterfly by Crazy Town.
Yes. Come my lady, come my lady. So satisfying.
Oh, it's so good. I love this one.
Yes. Was I sort of picking up on almost like underneath this sort of like, I guess I don't have the language for it, almost like a chiptune sort of like crunchy sort of sound going on in the background there.
Yeah, I think there is some kind of like chiptune percussion track happening with the drums in there.
I'm super into that.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, this is a Matt song. This is
okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think this is the only song that I like. This is the only demo that I threw in the pile for Fantasy League stuff, and I feel like Scott just like gave it to me because it's the only one. And he was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Obviously, it's amazing. These are my favorite lyrics on the whole album, honestly.
So these are your lyrics, Matt?
I think so.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I love a lot about this song. I feel like that, you know, you're talking about the chiptune thing. I was going to ask about the sound of that sort of ascending hook of the like ding 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 ding. Like, how did that come to be? Because I feel like that has a very particular sound to it.
I think this song started out as like an old Eleventy demo, and then when the album was kind of, or we were starting to like throw songs together, I was like, oh well, here's this thing. It doesn't quite sound like Eleventy because the instrumentation feels a little too traditional. So maybe it'll work. And I also I didn't feel like it was like an Eleventy melody yet. I feel like it was just like an idea, and thinking about Scott singing it made it, in my mind, feel a little bit more powerful. Like, oh, maybe this will like maybe he is the voice to deliver the message, the singing telegram for the song. But yeah, there was that. And then I think most of this was like, I don't know if there was a ton that got changed. I think it was just a whole lot of trying to get the drum tracks to feel good and live and real, and like a real drummer could actually play it.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of like inconsequential, like just minor note changes in the melody just to make it fit with my voice a little bit better.
Yeah, different flourishes.
It just didn't need anything else because that's the way Matt writes.
That's
he
not
sings
even
out
true.
these complete works that you can't do anything to improve.
That's not even real.
I do. Yeah, it's interesting that you both mentioned that sort of live drum sound, because I feel like that's the first thing that stands out to me is this sort of big reverby snare, and I love it. Like it sounds different and exciting and sort of settles into this groove. There's these sort of plunky, hopeful synths alongside this big drum sound. And then as that hook of the like do 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 do, I feel like that all comes together in a really satisfying way. And I was almost like, oh, is that central hook sort of like matching the theme of a butterfly? Is this like a butterfly flying into the air? It's like sort of what it sounds like to me, just like an ascending melody. I don't know. I really
that
like
is
it.
such a kind way of viewing that. I kind of felt like I got to the end of the chorus and I was like, wait, we have to go somewhere after here. Like we haven't quite peaked yet. And so that was the whole, I mean, I'm pretty sure that line was just me kind of, poking around on the keyboard until...
It's almost as if that is the chorus, because there isn't, like, as far as vocally what it's doing, it's not very typical as far as like that kind of big anthemic chorus goes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I could sort of see Matt singing on this one that maybe wouldn't be the same as the other songs on this record, so that makes sense. So
it would be so lame if I tried to do lyrics over that.
He's flying in the sky.
Butthole cut, here we come.
Well, the lyrics though are not particularly uplifting. They're fairly dark and cryptic, I think. So I don't know. Could you talk a little bit about where that idea sort of came from?
I feel this feels kind of strange. Right? Like whenever I start songs, a lot of times it feels easy. Like in my mind, I feel like I'm always this like disaffected teen girl, like writing into a diary, being kind of melodramatic. But
same. Keep going. And
so at the risk of sounding super weird and creepy, I do feel like there's a part of myself that identifies with that. When I see that sort of narrative in other things, it feels like that's the easiest thing for me to sort of tap into, is like a malaise or a sort of neon sadness that kind of permeates that specific time in life. I just kind of like working through that. Sometimes the word painting can be really cathartic. Like the breaking down with the acetone was like, I just had this image of somebody doing their nails and like taking off a nail polish, trying something new, trying a new color every week, trying to find one that fits or one that might gloss over a pre-existing pain there. I doubt anybody else thinks as hard about that.
I didn't get that specifically, but my favorite line is just that looking for a steady hand to pour raindrops from a wasted Eden. What else did the rain before? I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah. There's a lot there to sort of unpack. Not that we have to here, but that's like...
let's go to Bible school. Let's Sunday school unpacking time. Anytime somebody says unpack, I feel like I'm back in church. Like somebody's just read a line and they're like, you know what? Let's unpack what Paul had to say about that shit.
I just want to lift up what Brother Langston is saying.
You've got your Bibles with you.
Hey Matt, if you want to start a metalcore band called Wasted Eden,
hell yeah!
Because Wasted Eden is a fucking it's a fucking metal ass phrase. Love
Wasted
it.
Eden.
Wasted Eden.
Yeah, no, it's a great line.
On your belly.
I feel like there's perhaps unpack was a triggering word to use, but like I feel like there's a lot to pour over in the song, and I appreciate it.
The baristas unpack.
Yes. What sort of clover art will they? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Is this your weight?
Is this your weight?
Do I run because I am escaping?
Hell yeah.
That's so good. I love the sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so this is the other song that Reese contributed lyrics for.
Fascinating.
Wildly wrong.
That's all right.
I'm like, I was like choosing. So Scott, the most personal songs on the record, those are the ones that Reese wrote, right? Fucking idiot.
Could have possibly been your life.
Fucking idiot.
You're not a fucking idiot. We're unpacking together.
We're pouring over.
We're pouring it
as
over.
brethren.
We like to call. Do you call the studio Fellowship Hall? Is that
Yikes.
the narthex?
No, but I want to get into those lyrics. Before that, I want to talk about. Oh God, I love it so much.
I want to talk about that jangly guitar, which when I hear that, and my brain immediately goes to the 1975 because they have a lot of that sort of bright, crispy, crunchy sort of like
chorusy,
swimmy,
swammy,
yes,
Samsonite.
I was way off. So I'm really digging that guitar part for that. So
thank you. I mean, this feels like a really fun one to me because it's another one that kind of stands out immediately. You know, it's like a cappella from second one, which feels different than this little piano hook at the center. So you're sort of lulled into this like, vocals and sort of simple piano, but then it just like hits you with this like almost abrasive synth and drums. And it's so good that come in for the chorus. I don't know. I really love the dynamics of this one. Yes. Sort of like pulling back and then snapping into place and going hard and pulling back again. Yeah. Can you talk about sort of the evolution there of how that came to be?
Sure. Yeah. This was one of the earlier ones too. And I think it helped solidify the direction that everything was going to take.
Yeah.
Because this one also ended up inadvertently having a distinct, 80s vibe to it. Like it kind of, like Howard Jones is what sort of came to mind for me. Also, I before I forget, Andy played drums on this one. So like
cool.
For everything else we had, like assembled.
Everything else was built.
It was like
a piece at a time.
Combinations of loops and one shots and everything else. And we tried that on this one too. And for whatever reason, this one just kind of felt like it needed an actual live drummer. And Andy was, of course, happy to do it and did an awesome job.
He changed it. I mean, he actually, whatever he did in this, or you and he, I guess, in the studio, it really did like do what we wanted to happen with the chorus, which we couldn't even verbalize at the time. We're just like, maybe this needs a live kit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
one. Good. I was just going to say adding in Andy is never a bad idea.
Yeah. No. I don't know, like where some of these things came from. Honestly, I don't know if I can. There wasn't anything I was channeling consciously. It just or where that weird syncopated chorus thing came from. But I was really happy with how it turned out in the end. I'm sorry, this is not very interesting.
No, it's great. I feel like the verse is quintessential Scott. Like Matt Langston's never going to write that bass line. I'm never going to write that keyboard part because they both feel like they are their own thing, but they kind of swim together. And then Scott kind of floats like a fucking angel over top of it with his voice. Like it just kind of feels like it all kind of gets tied together, but none of it makes sense in solo, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think a lot of these songs, I keep using the word satisfying, and it's because they're almost like disparate elements. And then when they come into place all together, just like, oh, that feels so great. I was hearing this little part, I was hearing this, and then the coming together and the sort of moving into the next phase of the song is always so satisfying. And this is certainly one of them. I love the sound of the song. And it's interesting. I mean, as you said, Reese wrote, or at least contributed some lyrics here. And it, feels like a sort of personal thing here too, maybe. So I won't grill you about its meaning, but it does feel like this idea of, is this your weight or just my own, sort of feels similar to some of the other songs here, something like You Will Run maybe, or other sort of kind of relationship songs where it's like breaking free of the past or like generational or sort of familial weight that's put on you. I don't know if that's right or not, but one thing I talk about with my therapist a lot is like the heavy coats that you put on that are like put on you by your family. And then like, how do you take those coats off so that it feels like this is in that wheelhouse?
That's a great metaphor. We're going to work that into a lyric for the butthole cut for sure.
Good.
No, I feel kind of the same way. The more that I became familiar with the lyrics, the more I was like, well, this really is a beautiful sentiment. Because when I just read the demo title, I was like, is this like a fat shaming manifesto? Or like, what?
Is this your weight?
Is this your weight?
Yeah, at first I was like, is this like a game show or something that I forgot about?
Guess that way.
Is this your way? No, but I think
You
it's
guys
a powerful
are fucking
image.
canceled.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what a great song though.
Yeah, it's interesting. I said it was interesting that you're talking about like John, the putting on the coats and things that it's so the ways that we carry these different kinds of pasts or traumas or whatever that we feel that might be gifted to us intentionally or unintentionally. That's something I haven't really. That's something I'm taking that to Doug next week to process that, because sometimes I'm like finding it's like, oh, is this a coat that I can put on actively rather than like someone's giving it to me? I'm just finding more ways to just make myself fucking sad and carry more shit. So
we gotta get those coats off, bro.
Oh, bro, for real, fucking loosen that shit. Anyway, this is not my therapy session, but
sometimes it's right on the line for us.
I know, for real.
But what we could all use, I think, is a dance track after that. Deserter. Ooh.
The stabs. All right. Okay.
I'm getting the feeling that we're still alive. Surface for the first time since the bullets rain down outside. Cerulean eyes won't let in the day. The shots ringing out seem further away. I wanna break out of a palisade. Breathe the atmosphere on the highway. There's a war going on out there. The bombs are still in the air. I'm getting the feeling.
Hell yeah.
So fun.
Definitely
Scott, your
one of my favorites.
falsetto, fucking so good. I love that. I love that. That is, talk about satisfying. Getting into that. Oh man.
As soon as he says cerulean eyes, I'm like, asses explode on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Makes me
I
so
can-
happy.
Everybody's getting daggered on the dance floor to this song.
Yeah, this was
does
the last song we worked on. And by this time, I'm like, okay, I'm fully going to embrace and lean into the 80s thing. Like that was, like we're already there. The songs have led us to this point.
Right.
So
Yeah. I was like, I feel like a lot of the others, I could see the sort of natural evolution from a demo to something else, but it's hard for me to imagine this not being a sort of dance track from the beginning. And I love it. I feel like that sort of, those bouncy, down, keys are like, almost feels like Pet Shop Boys or something. It's just like classic synth pop
There's
dancey
no
sound.
better compliment you could pay a Matt Langston than to make a Pet Shop Boys reference.
You achieved it. It feels like immediately you want to get out on the dance floor. And yeah, I agree. Like when we were talking about your range on this record, Scott, this is the one that I thought of first, where it's
1000%.
like, there's a war going on out there. Like you just nail it. It sounds so great. It's cool to hear your voice go in like new directions on this song. And yeah, I feel like you really nail that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Is it weird? Is it weird to say I'm proud of you? Is that it?
It's not weird.
Like,
I'll
proud of
take
both
it.
you boys.
No, like just like pushing yourselves, I love it. I'm just it's cool to see this project that you both like collaborate on these things and make something that's like, I don't think about, I think about this as, I mean, because it is, but like a very much a joint thing. Like, I don't feel like it's more one person over another.
Oh, there were joints involved. All right.
Oh yeah. Now I'm extra bummed that I'm not hanging with you guys right now.
Make it a joint project next time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Could you talk about how this one, I mean, I know you said from minute one, it was sort of like embracing the 80s. So did that take it to like different places in terms of how it came together?
We were trying to round out the album and you sent this demo and you're like, oh, I don't really know. Maybe it'll be. And of course, like it was awesome. And
perfect Scott impression.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a fucking
It's
banger.
interesting, the demo. It's interesting.
I didn't say I didn't like it, Scott. I said it was interesting.
What does this do for the greater good?
It's your note on every song.
Is it because she's sitting alone?
And what's the joke, Andrew? All right. Sorry. We're getting derailed here.
There was so I cannot overstate how much like this record was made in 15-minute increments. We work on something for 15 minutes and then turn on YouTube and watch a sketch.
Yeah.
From I Think You Should Leave
Perfect.
as
Perfect.
a palate
So then it's-
cleanser.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the major touchstone in all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really came together when we found that show.
Yeah, you can
Your
tell. You can tell.
Your version of sloppy steaks was going out and getting some steaks and then pouring that Peruvian sauce all over it.
Yeah,
White
exactly.
Ferrari lit for New Year's Eve.
Oh man! If you guys think this is slick back, then you should hear Lights Down Low.
I mean, Scott, did you used to be a huge piece of shit?
That's what the song is really about.
I do feel like Deserter is slick back. I don't think it's pushback. I think by the time we got to Deserter, we had definitely reached a slick back phase.
Full slick back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some dangerous nights, you know. Anyway.
We were definitely ready to hold the baby at the end of that one.
Oh damn.
I think Matt, after he heard this demo, he's like, people can change.
Exactly.
I hope at least 5% of the people that listen to this know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I always worry about when we go on an extended tear like
Yeah.
this.
The number of times we've told people to watch I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
If they haven't, this is on them at this point.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's your
You're
problem.
right. You're right.
Sorry, all new fans who are turning in to hear about
Have you found
some of their songwriting heroes.
it's kind of a risky recommendation I found. Like I expect more often than not that my friends will like it. And it's probably 50-50 for
I
me.
just like bring out packs of underwear because I'm like, everyone's going to shit themselves when they see that.
But then sometimes they don't. They just look at you and judge you for liking it.
It's definitely a particular flavor. It
And
may
those
not be
people,
everyone's flavor.
Some people don't like awkward humor or something that makes them uncomfortable, which is like the lane is just
No, you're absolutely right. Case in point, people don't like awkward humor. My wife can't stand it. Like things like Curb Your Enthusiasm. I could just sit and watch for hours and hours. But she's like, he's so angry. Everyone's so uncomfortable. I can't take it. It's like the empathy is just too high with people like that. We don't need them.
What we do need is a dance party. I would love to hear this song live and get out on the dance floor and just, I mean, that big catchy chorus live with those pulsating synthy drums. I mean, I would love to hear it. Thematically here, sort of another apocalyptic, there's war going on. A few of the songs on the album sort of feel within that vein, but I don't know. Is there anything you guys wanted to say about sort of the thematic elements of this one?
Yeah, I feel like a broken record here. It's similar to other songs like This Light and that other one that I talked about earlier.
It's all a blur.
Divisiveness, trying to get through it, trying to understand it, come at it from a healthy perspective. I don't know. It's all. Some of it was a little bit like the COVID lockdown, kind of reemerging from that, and trying to make sense of all the relationships that seem to have gone awry, and like people's cabin fever, and I don't know if I can put it any more poignantly.
No,
but-
I love having this conversation because I feel like it condenses 20 or 30 conversations that we would have in the studio about lyrics. Because all of the songs, you know, Scott and I will go through them with a fine-tooth comb and be like, is there a way that this can be said differently? Or let's just try, for shits and gigs, let's just try a different line, see how it changes things. I do know there was a lot of thought that went into the lyrics on them, but as an outside observer to the album, seeing it all in context, it is probably lyrically an album that I relate to the most, that I had maybe was probably the least to do with lyrically. I just thought that they do kind of coalesce into this narrative that feels cathartic for me of like, oh yeah, everything is sort of chaos and you're trying to find these beautiful little moments in there, and there's nobody better at doing that than old Scott Kerr.
No, it is a relief to hear from you and from other people that they like the lyrics, because, you know, as I've said before, that I'm not nearly as confident with writing lyrics as I am with writing music. And what's ironic about this project is I expected the lyrics to change a lot more, because I have a lot of respect for Matt's lyricism. I expected there to be more changes with that and probably fewer changes musically. But it is, like I say, a great relief to hear.
That was maybe the only thing I felt kind of insecure about, like when we were doing the album, because I felt like when we worked on Fast Feeling stuff, all of that got changed so drastically. And most of the time when I'm in the room with somebody, like all the lyrics get a rewrite, or it can just be complete upheaval that you just sort of have to be ready for. With this one, I felt like I was like, no, I love everything that you're saying. And I feel like Scott was like, I don't believe you. I feel like you're just being a lazy piece of shit. And I was like, no, I think these are all great. And so we would sit there and I'd be like, well, I'm just going to spend 10 minutes here pretending like I'm thinking about this, so that at the end of that 10 minutes, I can be like, Scott, after some thought, I still think they're great. So you can trust me on that. But
I mean, cosign. I feel like this is a cohesive piece of work, like thematically, lyrically, musically, I don't feel like there's a piece of it that's like not up to the standards of the other pieces of it. So I am here for all of it. And I guess we're going to close things out now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's coming up on time too for you to go to the NFL.
To go to the NFL.
You know, the NFL party.
I love going to the NFL, and I love going there when the lights are down low.
Oh, yeah. Let's turn those lights way down
Real
low.
Oh, yeah.
The day after we lost the war, and the dead fought in my head no more. All the weight we carry, abandoned or we buried, all we battled for. Sometime taken to find you here, and your eyes only a souvenir. The lines remind erases, these strangers in our bases never disappear. Turn all the lights down low so we can see the stars all over this town. Turn all the lights down low. Give up what is it done? Keep what we have found. Turn all the lights down low and down the boulevard. Some of the future, if only we could know. So turn all the lights down low. The charge when we take it.
So good. Man, I
Scott,
love this
your
song.
fucking voice. I mean, like,
I know.
great, dude.
I know.
to reiterate,
Like
Once
halfway through
again-
the verse, I'm like, I'm ready to live in this K-hole. I will just wrap up in this.
This one, like I dialed up the 80s drama more than any other song, and I still like second guess. Like I think I might have stepped, like put one foot over the line.
No,
Disagree.
bullshit.
Disagree.
Scott, look at us all shaking our heads.
Yeah, fuck you for saying
You
that.
used to be a piece of shit. You're not anymore.
No, I love it. And I wonder if you all thought of this one as a closer. Like, was that one that you had in mind as the closing song or no?
I don't think so. I think
I mean, it pulls in like some of the themes from just the previous songs about losing the war and about the weight you carried, so it works perfectly.
No, it absolutely does. It's one of those things in hindsight, like when we like Matt was saying earlier, when we got your sequence, we're like, oh yeah, this is the obvious choice. Why didn't we think of this?
Like we've been writing different chapters and you actually put the book together.
Well, yeah, I only asked because I wondered, it reads so much like the best place to close out to me that I wondered if you had thought of it that way or if I was just bringing that to it. But like, I don't know, I love the chill vibe that it begins with. It settles into like a slower rhythm, which is a little unlike the others. So it feels like a good place to close in that way. But it also leaves you on this, like, it goes to this sort of euphoric place of sort of, I don't know, it ends in this like positive, sort of hopeful note musically and thematically. But like you said, Andrew, I feel like it ties in a lot of the themes that we've been hearing about on the rest of the record. So I don't know, it feels like such a satisfying place to end for me. And I don't know, I love those. I love the way that it builds, including those little ascending glitchy bass sounds of like, so cool. I love that. And then, the first time through, I wasn't sure what I was going to get, but when the beat drops for the chorus, oh man, I was so pumped. So just like, again, would love to be out on the dance floor vibing, hearing that beat drop. Yeah. I mean, I know you're talking about pushing the 80s elements, but were you envisioning it as sort of like a big beat drop and dance floor chorus originally, or did it sort of evolve to that?
It definitely evolved to that. Like it was definitely more restrained in the demo version. And then of course, Matt comes along and does his thing and makes it bigger and better and all that.
Well, you had like the very first thing in the song is this cool, like little, it sounds like a modular loop, but I think you did it on like Sub Fatty or something. Right? That
was sent through Soundtoys Filter Freak.
So that was really cool. And then I remember like in the studio we had the idea to put, because you said that you had this old recording or something of when you were in Rome.
It wasn't that old. We added that later. So the kids and I, Stephanie and the kids and I went to Italy last spring, and I made some just voice recordings like from on my iPhone of inside the Vatican, like inside St. Peter's Basilica specifically, and it's so haunting.
That's what the voice is at the beginning of the song. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I wondered what that sort of ambient crowd noise was. But again, it feels like a great place to sort of close out to have that element in it. Yeah, it feels like a continuation of the last one. So I was kind of imagining them together as a pair. So like you said, Andrew, it's like talking about the war going on. Now this one is about having lost the war. Feels sort of post-apocalyptic in a way that some of these songs do, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like the hopeful lens on it of like, now you can see the stars now that like the apocalypse has happened, and using that as sort of an allegory of like finding the positive, or the things that bring people together in the face of these big, wild things that can feel like an apocalypse. I don't know. That's the way that I read it, at least.
I feel like this is one of your greatest strengths and one of the most beautiful gifts that you give to the world. I hope that there are other people who have the opportunity to have you appreciate their art, because you do it in such an articulate way, in a way in which people feel so seen. There is a warm, enveloping quality about it, and I really appreciate that, especially coming to the close of like the album and the commentary and everything. This has been a gift to me, just to hear somebody talk, like just appreciate the kind of work and thought that went into making the album. Yeah, it's warming my heart. You're not a piece of shit.
The ultimate compliment. Thank you.
I would echo all of that. If I could just have you explain all of my songs to other people,
To my mom.
they'll sound so much more meaningful and profound than I could ever put it.
Well, just send this to them and warn them that there's a lot of butthole talking too. But yeah,
Unless they're into that, then,
yeah, sure. Hey, if you're into that,
then you'll be like, guess what? Lots of butthole talk.
we are. That's what we strive to do here on MagPod, and you guys give us the gifts of art that we love, and we try to give the gift of thoughtful analysis and talking about it. So I am a huge fan of each of you. We both are. We're a huge fan of this record. I hope many more people find it if they haven't yet and are able to, unpack and pour over the content in the way that we have. But yeah, I agree with Andrew. I'm fucking proud of you guys. I really really love this album and this sort of partnership as it's taken shape in Fantasy League. And I hope there's more. Can we hear anything about whether there will be more?
Oh, I intend to.
Yeah, why not?
If Matt's down, then
hell yeah.
I'd love to do more.
Yes.
So live shows confirmed, vinyl release confirmed.
Yes. Demo tracks are going to be released
at the very least.
I feel like at the very least there should be a legitimate butthole cut because there are so many demos and they really did. They came such a long way that it is fascinating to hear some of the changes.
I would love to hear that. Some deluxe edition in which we get the bonuses. I would love to see Eleventy live. I would love to see 5 Iron live. I'd love to see Fantasy League live if that can ever happen. So
no, God, man,
just make these shows happen and we will show up. But it was really it was an honor to be able to hear some of these songs coming together as they were along the way, and an honor to talk to you guys as always about this really awesome work that you did. So.
Yeah, thank you for letting us continue to be a part of what you guys create and for continuing to come on and talking with us, whether it's Matt having us come on to your pod or you guys coming on ours. It's just a joy to see you guys all the time and can't wait to actually do it in person, whether it's...
Yes, absolutely.
Next time.
It's always a pleasure. I'll send all of that, everything you just said right back to you. And I am putting out into the universe that before 2023 is over, that we get to actually do a bro down.
Yes.
In the same place. Yeah.
And
it'll happen.
And if I can ever get my shit together and, actually write more songs, I'm gotta hit up that Rock Candy to have that shit produced there, because I'm so bad at literally everything I do with mixing and recording.
Yeah, with
stuff.
that attitude, Andrew.
Okay, look, I'm garbage. Okay, I'm a huge piece of shit. My hair can be slicked back right now. Huge.
Yeah, it's not even pushed back.
I got a white couch upstairs.
I don't give a rat's ass.
Yes, it would be awesome to hang out and to see your guys.
Yes.
Producing in action at some point.
Hell
and
yeah.
Andrew can take some tips for future work he's going to drop.
Oh my God.
But congrats again on this.
Yes.
Thank you for this conversation. We will talk to you guys soon.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
absolutely. Thank you.
Eleventy Life is a production of Rock Candy